Welcome back to Just Breathe, the second part of my BokuAkaKuroKen one-shot, kind of, I'll call it one-shot, and the second part of the request. For this one, we have a little content warning of a detailed description of a panic attack, so if you know that you don't handle that well, consider twice if you want to watch this video, and if you don't, that's completely fine. I hope you have a great and amazing day, and if you do want to watch it, of course have an amazing day as well, and enjoy! When he entered the kitchen the next morning, he half expected it to still be a mess. But all of Akaashi's stuff was gone, and there wasn't even so much as a stain from the tea that had been spilled last night. He sighed, shoulders slumped and unsure what to do or how to categorize this all, when suddenly he heard the sound of steps behind him. The way he walked alone, careful yet a bit uncoordinated, was enough to identify Kenma. "Hey kitten, all done with your exams?" The blonde nodded slowly, his eyes narrowed as he observed the taller. "I'll make us breakfast." He did, and Kenma waited patiently until both were settled at the table before addressing the elephant in the room. "What happened yesterday?" "I'm not quite sure. I made KGT, and I think he knocked the cup over." "That wasn't your fault." "True, but he was exhausted and overwhelmed, I think, and he didn't let me help. He didn't want me to help him." Kuro looked down into his cup. It was almost laughable how something so insignificant could cause so many problems. Then again, it wasn't the tea that was the problem, it was just the thing that laid it bare. Kenma frowned at Kuro's silence. "What now?" The taller just shrugged his shoulders, not satisfied with the answer himself. "I'm not sure. I'm worried about him, Kenma. He is clearly overworking himself. We all were for the past weeks, but this is going too far. He is hurting." His muscles tensed, and Kenma nodded slowly in understanding. "I noticed that too. Keiji always puts a lot of pressure on himself." "Where's Bo? I thought he didn't have any exams today." Kenma nodded. "He is still asleep." "Now that's a rarity." Kenma chuckled a little as he took the plates into the kitchen before Kuro could protest. "Say, do you know when Akaashi will be done with his exams?" His last one is today." "That's good." He stared down at his cup again as he heard Kenma sigh. Suddenly, two arms wrapped themselves around him, and Kenma let his entire body weight lean against his side. "Don't worry, we'll figure this out. We'll talk to him and all will be fine." Kuro chuckled a little at Kenma's attempt to distract him and gladly pulled the smaller into his lap. "If you overthink it and stress yourself out further, you won't be able to help him either." The taller sighed in defeat and nuzzled his nose against Kenma's neck. "Come on, I distinctly remember you wanted to take a bath with me." "No, you wanted that." He grinned. "But I'll gladly comply." Kenma's eyes narrowed at his comment, but he couldn't help the smile tugging up his lips. He straightened his back before leaning down to capture Kuro's lips in a loving kiss. "You're such an idiot, Tetsu." "You're an idiot." "Our idiot." Makoto corrected as he walked into the room, his voice still rough with sleep. "Oh, look who's finally awake." The black hair grinned widely while teasing his beloved. Shut up. Bokuto grumbled as he searched to gather the things he needed to make some coffee. Meanwhile, Kemba climbed down from Kuro's lap, announcing that he'd prepared the bath, and Kuro just looked at both of them like a stupid, lust-struck teenager. What happened? Kuro looked up surprised, but before he could answer, the sound of the door shutting closed with force cut through the peaceful atmosphere. They both flinched as they heard the voices from the hallway rise, and quickly followed the direction of the sound. Keiji? What are you doing here already? A lump in Kuro's throat grew as he heard Akaashi's name, and even more when he saw him. Akaashi was a mess. He leaned against the wall for support, chest heaving with shallow, panicked breaths, and his eyes widened as though he had seen a ghost. They were red-rimmed, and Kuro could see the tracks of dried tears on his cheeks that were quickly replaced by new ones as he broke down. Keiji! It didn't happen gradually like in the movies. His body didn't slap against the wall, slowly sinking to the ground. No, all his muscles seemed to give out on him at once as he collapsed into a sobbing pile. He cried, his hands twisted into his hair, half looking as if attempting to cover his ears. His eyes widened in horror, and he desperately tried gasping for air. Kuro reached for him, unsure of what else to do, but immediately being reassured in his actions as Akaashi clung to him like a lifeline. He cried against his chest, unable to voice his grievances or the terrors that haunted him as he fought for air. Neither of them had ever seen him in such a bad state. Neither of them knew what to do, and none of them could bear the sight. They would do anything to help. Keiji, it's okay, we're here. Breathe. He cried out as his eyes found Bokuto's, still wide in panic. All Kuro could think of was to hug him tight to ground him and wait for the panic to settle, but it never did. Minutes passed by, and Akaashi's breathing still seemed to speed up, his chest and lungs aching. It hurt. Keiji. Hey, Keiji, listen to me. Listen to my breathing, okay? Try to breathe with me. He shook his head frantically, more tears drenching his shirt. I can't. Pained gasps mixed with the frantic breaths as he tried. Yes, you can. It's okay. You are okay. You are safe. Kuro mumbled the soft reassurances under his breath, trying to ignore his own panic to the best of his abilities. Suddenly, Akaashi got quiet. Again, it didn't happen gradually, but all at once. The tension in his muscles faded, and his head slumped against his chest. Kuro almost didn't notice at first, too caught up in his own thoughts and attempts to soothe him, until Kemba's panicked voice got him out of his head. Kuro! Kuro, he fainted! It sent them into a frenzy, panic and chaos predominating the room. Should I call an ambulance? Does he need to be in a hospital? Kemba just stared at Akaashi's limp body in Kuro's arms, unable to truly comprehend what was happening. Yet, upon seeing Kuro's horror and the panic in his eyes, he bit his tongue, forcing his legs to move. I'll call an ambulance. You move him into the recovery position and check his breathing. Forcefully calm, he made his way to the kitchen table where he left his phone, not sure if the others were following his orders or not. The paramedics checked Akaashi's vitals and for any possible injuries, but found none. Slowly, the Ravenet regained consciousness, and they offered him an oxygen mask, talking in a calm tone so as not to trigger another panic attack. He was disorientated upon waking up, but could answer their questions. His eyes searched the room, landing on his beyond agitated boyfriends. Kuro held tightly in Bokuto's arms, while Kemma stood off to the side, trying to make himself as small as possible. Alright, it doesn't look like you need to be admitted to the hospital for now. Try to remain calm and rest at least for the next few days. If these turn into reoccurring symptoms, you should schedule an appointment with your family physician. Akaashi nodded slowly. Thanks. No problem. If it gets worse again within the next hours or you faint again, call an ambulance. Their eyes wandered from Akaashi to his boyfriends, who nodded immediately before they left. The silence in the air was eerie when suddenly Bokuto broke it, not being able to contain himself any longer. He walked past Kuro and engulfed the injured in a hug, gently yet firm. I was so scared. His voice was so much quieter than usual, and Akaashi gulped as he leaned into his touch. Me too. I'm sorry. His eyes wandered over his shoulder to Kuro, and silent tears found their way down his face. Tetsu, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. Bokuto sat back a bit as Kuro stepped closer, gently cupping Akaashi's cheeks. Hey, shh. It's okay. No, it's not. You're supposed to rest. It's okay for now. Just rest. He hugged him as well, soothingly playing with the dark curls as he rested his chin on his head. I'm not mad. I love you. I love you so much, and all I want is for you to get better. He breathed in deeply. Akaashi sensed the comforting warmth radiating from his body, and the tender symphony of his breathing and heartbeat calmed him more than anything else. Let's get you to bed, yes? I can tell you from the past weeks that sleeping on the couch isn't the most comfortable. He grinned slightly, and Akaashi nodded slowly. He tried getting up as soon as Kuro pulled back, but Bokuto stopped him. Nuh-uh, not a chance. He huffed, and before Akaashi knew it, he found himself in Bokuto's strong arms as the ace carried him to their bedroom, seemingly oblivious to the bright red blush spreading on Akaashi's cheeks. He placed him gently on the mattress and went to the drawer to fetch some more comfortable clothes for the two of them. Akaashi observed him exhausted while waiting for Kuro and Kemma to follow. He looked at Bokuto questioningly while changing. Where are Tetsu and Ken? Give them a moment. He sighed, engulfing Akaashi in his arms before fetching the TV remote from the nightstand. Today will be a chill day. No more responsibilities, just relaxing and recovering. You really scared us there. I'm sorry. Bokuto shook his head against Akaashi's as he nuzzled his nose into his neck. You didn't mean for this to happen. You don't have to apologize anymore. We'll figure this out. Now, tell me which movie you want to watch. Akaashi just looked at him, eyes still slightly glossy as he snuggled closer to Bokuto's chest. Alright then, your name it is. It was one of Akaashi's absolute comfort movies. A few minutes later, the other two joined them. They looked tired and worn out, but their eyes lit up as they saw Akaashi and Bokuto cuddle up together comfortably. Kemma immediately crawled into the middle of the bed, snuggling up to Akaashi's side, while Kuro took place beside them. I love you all. Kenma hummed an agreement, while Bokuto enthusiastically returned the sentiment, and Akaashi replied with a simple, love you too. It wasn't until much later that he dared to speak up again. I messed up. Bokuto tensed and hugged him tighter, but before he could protest, Akaashi continued. Today in the exam, I could hardly remember anything. My thoughts were a mess, and I screamed at you yesterday. He looked at Kuro, his eyes filled with regret. Even though you just wanted to help, I'm so sorry for that. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. I couldn't stop thinking about it during the exam, and then I panicked and fainted. They sent me home because I wasn't feeling well. You fainted twice? Kenma looked up at him in fear. It was only very briefly the first time. I'm fine. Kyoji? I'm not mad about yesterday. You were exhausted, and I know that you didn't mean it. I felt so helpless watching you like that without being able to do anything to help. You can't overwork yourself like that. I know. His voice almost broke, and instantly everyone snuggled closer again. It was bad. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. It was all too much, but I couldn't run from it, and I didn't want to drag you down if it couldn't be solved anyway. The only thing I could do was power through until it was over, and then today I couldn't breathe, no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't breathe, and it scared me. I felt like you were dying. Kenma knew this. Panic attacks, sadly, were an all-too-familiar concept to him. It's okay. It's over now. You are okay. A muffled sob escaped his throat as he pulled Kenma closer. We'll be right by your side for as long as you want us. Forever then. A wet laugh bubbled up in his chest as he proposed the idea. He would love it. Forever then. Kuro placed a tender kiss on his hair and caressed his cheek softly. Thank you all for watching to the end. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed this BokuAkaKuroKen one-shot. Again, I related just so much to Akaashi because I just had my finals and this hit too close to home. Anyways, if you also have any requests, please leave them in the comments or even better on my Discord server so that I can find them easily. And yeah, some of them get made into actual videos. I had a lot of fun doing this one. And if you don't want to miss out on anything in the future, subscribe. And now I hope you have a wonderful and amazing day.